If you destructure params directly in Next.js App Router, your app might work today and break tomorrow. Because in modern Next.js, params can be a promise. Not awaiting this will throw an error at runtime. This isn't a bug, it's a design shift. Welcome to the Ace Academy. Let's build this properly. I've gone ahead to create a new app using create next app. So this is a new Next.js app I have created for the purpose of this video. And then I'm going to go ahead and do npm run dev for my development server. Okay. Good. Okay, our development server is working now. Before I open it, we're using the app router now. It says here app, no pages router. This is Next.js 16 with React 19. So these are modern tools. And with the app router, Next.js is built for streaming head runtimes, parallel and intercepted routes. That is async-first routing. 1 minute. So async-first routing. Because of that, route params are no longer guaranteed to be synchronous. Sometimes they are resolved immediately, sometimes they are resolved later. So Next.js treats params like async data. Let us see. I'm going to create a blog page that says blog/slug. And this is going to export a default async function. Dynamic page params. So this will return h1. Hi, this is our dummy blog. And here we'll put a P that says params.slug. This is the unsafe and old pattern of using params, or you can do this const slug. So you destructure it rather than using it directly. But this works too, or you can also destructure it. But this is the old and unsafe pattern, and I'm going to show you something. So I'll open my development server. Now look here in our console. routes/blog/slug used params.slug. Params is a promise and must be unwrapped with await or react.use before accessing its properties. The reason I'm using this destructuring or this is because I use async here, and if I'm using a general async function, then this is a server component. But how do we use this in a client component? I'm going to show you in a little bit. So if I refresh this, still. So we have the error here. You can see here clearly. Points at it. So error here. Same thing I read out. So the solution is just to do this. Just to await params and use slug here. So 1. Now this is how you do it. You await params and it works. So you don't get the error here again. If we refresh this, you see the warning, not error, pardon, but it may become an error soon. The warning disappears. Also disappears from here. Look, I have clean code now. So if you want to use this in a client component, we'll need to remove this async here. Then we'll do use params. From next navigation, if we do this, see, no error, no warning, clean code. This is how you use it in a client component. You use params from the client, and if you do this in a server component, you're going to get an error. So look where the error is pointing at. So you can't use this in a server component. Even if I remove this use server from here and I put async here, only server components can be asynced. So if I do this, you see the error doesn't disappear. The error still points here. This is the correct and safe pattern. Remember I said you use this on the client. Okay, let's roll this back. You use this on the client and you use this on the server. Good. This is the correct future safe pattern. In your pages, in your layouts, and in your route handlers, either you're using get, post, or put, make sure you're awaiting params. Anywhere you receive params in the app router, treat it as an asynchronous function. So here's where this gets dangerous. Your app might work locally when you're using the old and unsafe pattern. Your app may work locally, may pass CI and deploy successfully, but then it crashes in production. So you might get add runtime errors and hydration failures, like we already saw when I was showing you the different ways of writing params. So especially on add runtimes, streaming pages, and parallel routes, this kind of bug is one that only shows after deployment. Sometimes you build apps, it works on your local server but doesn't work on deployment. Sometimes it may be one of this, especially if you're using Next.js. Next.js isn't being annoying, it's being consistent. You have fetch. Since we're using the server component, so you have fetch. This is awaited. You have headers, which is also awaited. You have cookies, which is also awaited, and then params should also be awaited. So this is consistency, and everything in the app router is moving towards async by default. So everything in the app router is becoming asynchronous, and this looks like a uniform mental model to me. I don't know about you. If this makes sense to you, I think you should get used to this. So here's the rule to remember. In the app router, treat params like data awaited before use, like this. If it comes from the framework, assume it's async. This is a small change, but understanding it means your Next.js apps won't break a year from now. Subscribe if you care about production ready Next.js. Ship smart, not lucky. I'll see you in the next one.